does one become a pro triathlete, and why is the answer to this question not such an easy answer to find? I was asking this question for a friend, and what I realized is the more I learned, the more questions I had. Another thing I noticed, I couldn't find all the answers in one place. I hate to say it, but this may be another thing we can blame on COVID-19. I figured the best place for me to find my answers would be Ironman.com. So I went there and I followed the links to the pro resources, and when I arrived there, I was greeted with this message. Thank you for your patience. Due to the continuing changes and challenges to the schedule globally, the 2020 and 2021 policies are under review. I'm pretty sure that's where I would have found most of my answers on how to qualify to become a pro. Why am I even thinking about this? Well, during these past few months, I have been fortunate to have all this extra time to train, and it got me to thinking, what's the point? I mean, seriously though. The majority of my triathlete friends are all out there training to do their next race and doing it just for fun. Not to specifically get on the podium, but just finish. But I'm a little bit different. If I'm going to spend a lot of my time training this hard, I want to see how far I can take it. Is it possible for me to get good enough to go pro, or am I basically just doing this to get a couple podium finishes in my age group? I know if I want to earn a pro card, I have a really long way to go. But anyway, I was curious to see how long of a way I have to go. So I started with one question. How does an age group triathlete get to become a pro? And then the more I found out, that one question morphed into many. So if you're interested, these are the questions that I will attempt to answer in this video. 1. How does an age group triathlete qualify to become pro? 2. Which races can I do to try and qualify for a pro card? 3. If I qualify for a pro card, what are the next steps that need to be taken? 4. If I go pro, what do I have to do to remain a pro? And 5. As a pro, can I race in races that don't have a pro division? If you're curious about the answers to these questions, then please stick around to the end, as I will do my best to explain the answers I found. And don't forget to hit the like button to help with the algorithm for my little channel. I'm going to answer these questions mostly based on Ironman rules, since I think if any of us were actually good enough to go pro in ITU and possibly be headed towards the Olympics, then we would probably have someone telling us exactly what we need to know already, and wouldn't be searching for videos covering this topic. I am just a curious age grouper who has now been training to be a triathlete for 1 year now, and I'm about to turn 37 in a couple weeks, so I think I missed the mark on that one. Definitely not going to the Olympics. So let's begin. Question number 1. How does an age group triathlete become pro? I was able to find one blog that answered this question on sunnyrunning.com from April 2015. So let's just assume that the rules are still the same. I couldn't find this information on triathlon.org. Not to say it's not there, but if it is, it was super hard for me to find because, well, I couldn't find it. I will also throw in some criteria I found on usatriathlon.org, and we can assume that other countries have the same or similar criteria for qualification. So to become pro, you have 3 options. To place in the top 10 overall amateur at Worlds. This could be ITU or Kona. Nothing was said about the 70.3 World Championships, but I would assume that race would also apply since it's sort of a biggie, but not sure about the top 10 being eligible. Who knows? If you do, please let us know in the comments and I will pin it to the top so people can see the answer. A second option is to place in the top 5 overall amateur at nationals. A third option to go pro is to place in the top 3 overall amateur at a qualifying race. A qualifying race that has a corresponding elite race offering at least a $20,000 prize purse. And the following were additional options that I found on USA Triathlon website. 1. Finish within 8% of the winning elite time on the same course as USAT's sanctioned events that offer a prize purse of $5,000 or greater, at least 3 times within 365 days of each other. 2. Finish top 10 overall and within 8% of the winner's time at the ITU age group Olympic distance world championships. 3. Finish top 5 overall and within 8% of the winner's time at USAT age group or collegiate Olympic distance national National Championships. 4, finish top 3 overall in the amateur field at an elite qualifying race, ITU recognized race with a prize pool of $20,000. 5, achieve a gender-graded race score of 104.787 or higher at events with 300 or more participants. This race score threshold is determined annually, so if you are attempting to go pro through this option, then you would have to check with the USAT rankings criteria page to see the most recent value. There are also just as many options to qualify for draft legal racing too, but as I mentioned, I'm not going to cover that in this video. And I'm also not sure if getting your pro card through these additional USAT regulations will also carry over to Ironman events. Something else you can leave in the comments if you know this answer. So before I began researching this, I figured with the time of my first 70.3, which was 5 hours and 23 minutes, I would probably have to cut something like an hour off my time to qualify. But it seems as if it doesn't have to be as hard as that at all times. Yes, you still need to be fast. Much faster than I was back then, and probably faster than I am now. But what if you show up to a race and no one faster than you happens to show up to this particular race and you place in the top 3 overall? That means you can be offered a pro card and you can accept it. But if you qualified more based on luck rather than merit, you might be in for a rude awakening if you decide to go pro rather than remain an age grouper until you're actually ready. So that's something you would have to ponder if you came to that bridge. Question number 2. Now we know how we can qualify for a pro card, but we can't do it at just any race. So how do I know if the race I want to do is a pro qualifier? That question was actually easy to find on Ironman.com. Under the pro resources, I just clicked on the qualifying event schedule and a huge list of races popped up, so it seems there are plenty of chances to qualify throughout the year. Question number 3. Let's say you did it. You qualified to be a pro triathlete. Now you weren't just all of a sudden a pro. You have to take a couple more steps to register and get your pro license. You will need to register with your National Triathlon Federation and obtain an elite license through them. You will also receive a confirmation email from Ironman, which will include your Ironman Pro membership number and a link to active.com registration page to complete the process and submit your payment. This is when you can decide if you want to get a single event pro membership for $250 for 70.3 or $500 for a full distance, or an annual membership for $900. You will also have to send a copy of your pro license to Ironman or a letter confirming professional status if your NTF doesn't issue cards. An annual pro membership for Ironman is run on the calendar year starting January 1st and ending December 31st. The awesome thing about being pro is after you pay your annual membership, you don't have to pay entry fees into any Ironman races, including full distance and 70.3s. This is great because we all know how expensive these can get. You just have to make sure you register within the registration period and before all slots are filled. Question number 4. Once qualifying to go pro, your pro status is good for 3 years as long as you renew your annual membership each year. During those 3 years, it's up to you to make sure you still race and do well so you can hang on to that status beyond those 3 years if you decide to remain pro. Question 5. If you want to do a race that does not have an elite pro division, you can email the organizers to see if they will allow it. I would also like to add to this. If you decide not to renew your pro status, you are still eligible to race in your age group category again, but it seems there is some sort of non-verbal agreement floating around, or maybe a courtesy, that if you were pro, you should take a year off or so of racing before going to kick butt in your age group again. So basically, one simple Google search led me to hours making this video. It seems now that I know all this information, it's almost like common sense. And I think that's why it was so hard for me to find the answers I was looking for. This is probably such common knowledge to those who have been racing for a while that they don't realize newbies, such as myself, really don't know anything. And it's a super bummer when you can't find a quick answer to a seemingly easy question with the Google search. And yes, I was ultimately able to find this information on my own, but I used 3 different websites and multiple links to get all of my questions answered. Like I said, hours went into making this video, so please don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe because that will make all of my efforts totally worth it. And you can also hop on over to Instagram and follow me and my triathlon journey there. Who knows? Maybe someday I will be in a position to decide if I want to go pro or not. And then I can decide if I want to do something professionally for basically $0. Thank you all for watching, and I hope I was able to answer some of your questions, just in case all this extra time at home has led you to ponder about some of life's greatest mysteries as well.